I'm Robert Hartwell, the brother of Oliver and Virginia Hartwell Legay-Fayeux, and we're the children of Louis and Daisy Bacon Hartwell. And the following pictures are excerpts from the black and white motion picture films which they made of our family, relatives, and friends in our early years. When this story starts, even commercial motion pictures were silent, and the extremely rare home movies of that time were no exception. 25 years later, tape recorders for sound became available, and we sat the family down to watch these movies and to make a voice commentary. But we'd all seen the movies so often that we had the names and faces memorized, and words often seemed unnecessary. To fill in the blank spots, some 57 years later, I've added my own voice to identify some of the scenes and faces. The first voice you will hear is that of our father, Louis Hartwell, referring to a visit by his parents, Walter and Maud Hartwell, from their home in Sherburne Four Corners, Shenango County, New York, to our home in Buffalo.
Our movies started when Father and Mother Hartwell came to spend Thanksgiving with us in November 1924. We wanted to record their visit, so we borrowed a movie camera from the Suter's camera store and started off making pictures of them. Then we followed with some pictures of the children after they'd gone out. But here were the children making a snowman. After Dad and Mother had gone, the two ladies are Daisy and Mrs. Mergler. This was early in November, or late in November, and it was our first snowfall of the season. Well, this was after Virginia arrived. We took her to the zoo on the first pleasant day. This is Big Frank, the elephant at the Buffalo Zoo who had only one tusk. Polar bears were doing their best that day, quite playful. This was at Billy Damon's house. These are his rabbits. They live in Toronto now. Jean Mergler on the right. Jean Mergler on the left now.
Mrs. Damon's legs.
Don't Damon want him to?
No.
Mrs. Damon enters the picture. Foot race on Exeter Terrace. See the birdie.
The Charles?
This was Betty when she wasn't as slim as she is now. Bill Livingston. John was always standing on his head. Dad. These were made at Taylor. And Frank. John pumping up the tire. Mother. Annie Louise and Daisy and the Virginia. The whole crowd. Lady and Peg. Watkins Glen. Montour Falls, or rather Buttermilk Falls, at Montour Falls. Cecil DeVallo.
And Virginia and Betty's doll carriage. Virginia, 1 year old. This was taken at Sherburne Four Corners. 4th of July.
Bob was great on firecrackers. Well, the annual baseball game at the Sherburne Four Corners gathering. One of our first visits to Niagara Falls with a movie camera. The old guard's route car. Sidewalk was pretty hot that day. Uh-oh. Grass was kind of prickery. Billy Damon again.
Virginia again on Exeter Terrace in the Hartwell Avenue area of Buffalo. But I remember that while we lived there, the name was changed from Exeter Terrace to Crestwood Terrace, and I believe it is still known by that name. Now we're in Norwich, and 48 Brown Avenue, sliding down the hill. Bob is the one in the sled with one of our neighbors, Joe Jarita, behind me in that first sled scene and in this sled scene. This was near the yards, or that 48 Brown Avenue was near the yards of the Ontario and Western Railroad, where my maternal grandfather, George Bacon, was employed as a car inspector. These scenes are 10 or 15 miles north at Sherburne Four Corners, the garage for grandfather's car. And now the first scenes at 139 Berryman Drive in Snyder, a suburb of Buffalo. This is Virginia. The date is approximately 1925, 1926. And this is the present family at that time, Bob and Virginia, with Daisy and here Dad, at Crystal Beach, the resort for Buffalo, which was on the Canadian side, across the Niagara River into Canada, a resort called Crystal Beach with an amusement park which could be reached both by automobile and also by an excursion boat from Buffalo. This is Virginia, and now Bob with a puppy at Sherburne Four Corners. These scenes are again a 4th of July gathering. It was traditional. The lady in the middle with white hair facing a camera is Amelia Bentley, who at that time was 85 years old, the famous Aunt Amelia. This, I believe, is a garden in Niagara Falls, Canada. On the left is Mrs. Anna Dixon, the elderly lady, and on the right is Maud Hartwell, my grandmother. This is the house at Sherburne Four Corners. With Frank and his son John, Louis's brother Frank. And this is at the actual Sherburne Four Corners, a crossroads 200 yards away from the house, where the postmaster and general storekeeper Herb Miles kept shop. This was his hunting dog. This is a winter reunion of a family in Smyrna, New York, at the home of Alida Wilcox. I will leave it to another day to identify all of these people. Rosamond Hartwell. Again, Aunt Alida Bentley. Not Aunt Alida. No. Aunt Amelia Bentley, I'm sorry. That was Walter Wilcox with the paper on his head. Here is Bob going down to the pond and ice pond behind the milk station at Sherburne Four Corners, where the farmers took their milk and the pond was allowed to freeze over, or each winter, and they cut huge blocks of ice out of it for use as ice to cool the milk during the summertime. This is at 48 Brown Avenue in Norwich again. And now we're back in Snyder. After a fairly heavy storm, it was necessary for a bulldozer to come through to clean out the roads. I think while this was going on, our three children, Bob, Virginia, and Oliver, were upstairs all with the measles. This skating scene is the Park Lake in Buffalo, which after it had frozen over approximately 8 inches deep each winter, was cleaned off by plows pulled by a team of horses, and then anyone could go skating as much as they liked. This is Virginia at the Buffalo Zoo, one of the usual Sunday afternoon haunts. There being no television, the radio having just one radio in the living room of a house. Everybody had to listen to what other program was decided on.
This is out at Berryman Drive in Snyder. The first picture of our new house. See the tulips in front? Don't smell so good, do they, Bob? But they look mighty pretty. That's a pretty steep step.
That's Virginia.
But I can make it.
Thanks, Bob, for the recognition. That's a big rule. That's a seal. That's my pink jacket and coat. My bags and too.
This is at Como Park, one of the Erie County parks. This Grandma Bacon and Virginia. We got along for a while, but on Sunday afternoon. Oliver, the second. The side street near Waterloo.
We always pass this on our way home from Granby.
Letchworth Park. Grandma Hartwell had brought Bob home to see Oliver.
Is that a little red car that Bob had?
Red automobile.
Oh, and McAllister's house wasn't even building there.
Yes, it was.
Was it?
Here's Oliver.
It's the best he's ever looked.
Pretty strong for 3 months.
What a well-shaped head, Oliver.
It's so full.
We were all pretty proud of him.
This is the original model for the ice cream cone.
This is Joy Gardner. Hasn't learned to drive an automobile yet. Grandpa Hartwell to the rescue. That means? Oh, yeah. That's that little powder blue color in Virginia on the ice. It's Delaware Park Lake. It's awesome. Bob learning to skate. Oliver and the baby walker. Oh, this is a cool baby. Virginia out in the bushes picking cherries, wild strawberries.
Cherries?
She called everything cherry. Oliver creeping for the first time after an umbrella. Very fond of umbrellas.
That's a fun one.
Now for 2 stones out of the driveway. Mighty good.
Those saddle shoes that Walt was wearing.
This was whooping cough time. No visitors, no going away. Bob said it was the best vacation he'd ever had. Never had to dress up.
There's Dad's company car in the back.
Oh, that's his Buick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the days. Bob, haven't you a few teeth minus in the front? Cute.
We don't have a sidewalk anymore either.
Oh, no. Blacktop driveway.
Anybody care to mention who broke up the sidewalk?
Rosemary at Grandpa Hartwell's. 1/4 of July.
pictures. He fell after the first 2 steps and was a little bit cautious about starting to walk again until 2 weeks had elapsed. One of the Urbeck girls, that's Harriet. This was Grandpa Hartwell's car. Oliver would like to go home with them for the car ride. And Grandma Hartwell? Grandma Hartwell. Now for a kiss on the back of his neck. That's where she always kissed baby.
That wasn't Grandpa Hartwell's car.
What's Daddy's car?
Kodak agent.
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't that his mark shop?
That's right. That's a Buick. See how accurate he is at putting the water in the pail. Look at all the hair on him.
Shit, dog.
He's like a poodle. They're taking the water to the sandbox. This is at Crystal Beach. Oh, that's classy. See the vibe. Obviously they're dancing. Styles are all queer. Look at my hat. Isn't that funny? Is that a cloak? It's a good question. You know you want.
Like a soup kittle.
They're too long. Mother, the frail of a lonesome time.
Sniper down.
Chestnut Ridge.
Well, that's a ski jump. And that's a
See
toboggan.
the human fly?
What a king.
It's like a spider. Centipede. Who's cutting on the picture? Who's that one?
That was Dad with Oliver. The Urbeck girls again.
This is Peggy in front. And Harriet standing in back.
Oliver in the car, Virginia running beside.
was complaining about.
Patsy Smith, and that was their grandmother, wasn't it?
Yeah. The first.
That's a swing we used to have out in back between the garage and the tree.
Bob chose his friends according to whether they could climb well or not. Virginia hanging up the wash.
That's Ingraham's house just being built.
Oliver carries a clothespin. The new Marquette. Loading up for school. Going up to school 18.
I was at Toronto on the boardwalk.
All this time somebody was taking $5 out of my purse in the car. Dad's cigarettes, the binoculars.
This was Como Park.
Our 15th wedding anniversary.
Wait, John, I want to sit down.
Uncle Frank.
Without his teeth. To high school. School. Mr. and Mrs. McCrell, front.
The helicopter.
And auto gyro.
Auto gyro.
Yeah, the wing. Helicopter.
Oliver's not interested in auto gyros. That's worth shot.
Flying clocks coming into Norwich Airport. The famous speed flyer. He's dead now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think he was sold to Cleveland Air Races. Frank Zuber, the mayor of Norwich.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Way down.
Way down. That's the best way. Usually going up to the college is like,
New York place. This is in Portland, Coaching Grove.
Sinatra.
That was in Boston.
No, that was Portland, Maine, too.
That's Portland.
Now then, Louis. Sinatra. Bob was 10, and he made the trip. This is at the Brown Bacon, the Bacon girls, Julie and Ruth, playing croquet in Grandma's yard. Coming down the Brown Avenue Hill. Mother always held her breath on those occasions.
Virginia learning to ride a bicycle. Everyone learned how to ride on that bicycle, I might add. Even us.
This was Thanksgiving at our house. Frank's family came.
Uncle Will, Betty, Virginia, Frank, Walt, John,
Aunt Elizabeth Comstock, and Anna Dixon, Aunt Rosamond, Betty, Daisy, Rosamond, and Anna.
Uncle Will,
Uncle Will and Elizabeth, John, Walt. How'd Walt go over to Virginia in a new snowsuit?
These sacks, what are they?
Oh, yeah. It's blue.
Is that big bird? It's a new dog.
Yes, this is the new dog. Oliver likes him better now. The first day that we got him, he ran off down to the neighbors and stayed till we went after him. I think it's
Yes. Jack Allen.
Yes, that's the plaque tells of a massacre.
Artificial respiration. This is the Indian village. There's Mr. McCrowell and Ted, and Mrs. McCrowell. That's Teddy, the Heinz dog, 57 varieties. Oliver learning how to skate. I learned everything the hard way. You learned to skate on your knees.
This is on the ice behind the house.
There's Ingraham's house.
Sue in Virginia. Bob has improved since we saw him back at the Park Lake.
Oliver's still trying. They had to fill up a pond in order to stop him.
This is Herbie in one of our favorite, very modern, streamlined wagons. This is our grandmother, Maud Hartwell, loading in the car. Still the Marquette with Oliver. These are the Dixon Comstock family. And this is a typical Christmas morning in Snyder. The Christmas tree was always set up in the sun porch, and the double doors which closed the sun porch were carefully closed off by Santa Claus and locked. And Christmas morning, we got up and got dressed and had a good breakfast. Louis always insisted that everybody eat a good breakfast. That was very important. And when breakfast was finished and the dishes were done, everything was out of the way, then they would find the key for the sun porch, and we children would be turned loose on the toys. Here Bob has an electric motor to which he's attached a drill bit, and in those days electric hand drills were unknown, motorized drills almost, except for drill presses, and that was quite an invention on my part. This was Mr. Van Sweringen's car. He had been apparently an important executive, possibly in the railroad business, not the Van Sweringen of railroad fame, but a relative, and he had an old car that he took all the children in the neighborhood to school with. This is a Memorial Day parade in Williamsville. I have looked at it carefully and don't believe that it was more than just a scenic event. Possibly that's our family standing across the street there, but I can't be sure. I may have been too young to be included in the Boy Scout contingent. I've scanned it carefully and can't find myself. But Williamsville, which was a whole village, which was more than our wide place in the road of Snyder could be called. This is the Amherst Central High School football team around 1936 or so. The uniforms are not as padded as they are now in 1981. This is the school doctor carrying his bag. We unfortunately had one player had a broken neck and died a year or two before these pictures were taken. It's the athletic field behind the high school. In those days, a player went in the game and he stayed in the game. On both offense and defense, if he was taken out of a game for any reason, he had to remain out throughout that quarter and could not return until the next quarter of the game. Therefore, they developed more all-around football players than we have today. It's Virginia, again on a Sunday at the Central Park Zoo in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, the zoo, the Buffalo Airport, the county parks, the state parks were our usual haunts in spring, summer, and fall. Oliver, Virginia, and Daisy at an unknown spot. This is Niagara Falls. Bob in the middle, Billy Gardner on the left. Now Billy Gardner in the middle and Oliver on the right. From the Canadian side, this is Billy Gardner with his suitcase, apparently going back to Smyrna and Sherburne, and here, apparently the following summer, is Bob on Dean Howard's farm, very proudly shepherding a team of horses on a hay wagon and visiting Bob, Virginia and Oliver for a ride. Was the Hills Place, as it was known.
Kodak Park, I believe.
Yes, that's outside the research building.
The roses and the planting belly around. Virginia picking the roses. After coming down from the tower, that's the monument. This is a Dane Bridge where the Bacons lived. Jean, Ruth, Virginia, Bob. This is Aunt Maud in the center, Uncle Arthur, Uncle Warren. Our peonies that we are so proud of. Peonies which were Grandma Hartwell's mother's in New Jersey.
Hartwell reunion.
Walt, Bob,
Dr. Hartwell and Kitty.
Marion, Adelaida, Aunt Tate, Alfred,
Margaret, Clayton,
Rosamond, Dorothy and husband, Edmund, and Louise, Mr. Annie Nickel, Samantha,
Harriet and Swat were just there.
Frank, Mrs. Whitney, Aunt Mame, John McGovern,
Alfred,
Helen Whitney, Mrs. McGovern,
Frank,
Mr. Howard, Dad, Dean,
Margaret and Connie.
The family in Watkins Glen on the way back to Buffalo from a reunion. And here are the flowers in the back of a house at 139 Berryman Drive with Oliver and the family dog Teddy. Again, the peonies. Mother showing them to Oliver. Virginia smelling the roses, and our neighbor Ruth Fell on the right. And the camera was then put away for perhaps 10 years, and these pictures were taken in 1949 of Bob there with the camera case slung over his shoulder, and Catherine Hoyt Hartwell, my very recent wife, who finally got to go to Niagara Falls on her honeymoon. This is the falls from the Canadian side. The best view and the best beaches always seem to be in Canada. This is Herbie, the dog that succeeded Teddy, who was apparently poisoned. He may have been examining some neighbor's garbage can, and somebody apparently poisoned him, and he was replaced with a somewhat Airedale named Herbert. Here Kathy is trying to interest him in some food.